Okay, so with this first video, I wanted to talk a little bit about why I left the United States. And so I've talked about, I have other videos on my channel about, why I moved to Panama, why I left Panama, why I moved to Spain, what I like, why I stayed in Spain. But I don't think I've ever really talked about in depth why I left the United States in the first place. I left in 2017, if I can remember correctly. And this is often a question people ask me that I get a lot, like, oh, why did you leave California? Why did you leave the United States? And I feel like my answer will somewhat change. It's always true, but it will sometimes change based on, who I'm talking to, the moment, how I'm feeling. So I wanted to really take this time to go into depth and be a little bit more authentic with my answer and really even give myself time to reflect on why I left the United States, and kind of what has changed and what has kind of kept me abroad. So I feel like moving abroad was something that was always a dream of mine, or living abroad was always a dream of mine. I always dreamed of like studying abroad and and things like that. I also traveled quite a bit with my family. I was very blessed to have, traveled on different cruise ships and gone to Mexico. So I had this love for travel. I had this love for exploring. But when I was in college, I had a lot of great experiences, but I never quite had the opportunity to study abroad or stay abroad for longer than like maybe a week or two. And so when when I got into like my 20s after I graduated from university, I started traveling more on my own. I started solo traveling with friends, and this love for travel kind of grew. And then there was a critical moment in my life where I got laid off from a job that I planned on being with for years and years and years. I got laid off, and I tried to create my own company, and I did that for a little bit, but that didn't take off as well as I had hoped to. And then I had this moment where I knew that if I were to stay in the United States, I wouldn't be happy. Like, I wouldn't be the happiest that I could be. Like, I would have to settle. And I remember having conversations with friends about how, we were watching all our friends kind of their lives taking different shapes and different forms, getting into relationships, maybe thinking about having kids. And there was this conversation of, are you happy or are you just settling? And I think some people are happy, going that traditional route, whether, getting a job, starting really dedicating to their career, starting a family, buying a house, I think that is something that a lot of people are happy doing. But I knew that I wasn't happy doing that. I knew that I not only wanted to try different things and explore different parts of the world, I wanted to be that person. I wanted to be a different person. And I think that's what brought me abroad, is wanting to expand who I was. And I started doing that when I moved to Panama, and then did that even more when I moved to Spain. But I really felt that I was growing out of not only the people around me when I was living in California, but I was growing out of that version of me. And I really wanted to see who Kirsten would be if she put herself outside of her comfort zone. So that's kind of my main reason for living abroad. Yeah, living abroad and leaving the United States. Obviously, there are certain pressures in the United States that I don't have living abroad. I think that the system in the United States and where it's going right now, and that's a whole other conversation, is something that I knew I didn't want to be a part of. And there's also too, I've had those thoughts of, should I go back? Should, because I was very involved, like in my community. And when I was in California, I was volunteering. I was on, within dance teams. I was very involved in my community, and it was hard leaving that community. It was hard building things that I thought were going to be great, and realizing that it would cost more for me to try to build what I was wanting to build. It would cost too much of me to, and the ideas and the dreams that I wanted to create and I wanted to have. I didn't see those dreams coming into fruition. And honestly, when I first moved abroad, I felt a little selfish because I was leaving my community. I was leaving people that I cared about. But I knew that I had to do this for me. I had this desire, I had this hope, I had this courage. I think that was really what it is, this courage to step out and to do something that I've never done before. And I wanted to take it. So, yeah, I think that is a very long winded answer. And I hope what you take away from my why, and I think it's important to, I know that it always gets kind of overused of like, know your why. If you want to move abroad, know your why. And I think that sometimes it can get over exaggerated, but I think that it is important to understand your why because, when you move abroad, you're going to have periods where you feel on top of the world and you feel like this is amazing. And then you're going to have some really hard moments. It could be financially, it could be emotionally, it could be loneliness, it could be just feeling overwhelmed by, the culture, a new culture and new rules and new regulations. So if you can't lay in your bed at night and remember why you are enduring whatever hardship that you are enduring, then you're not going to make it living the life abroad. So, my why, I guess to sum it up, is because I wanted to do something that was purely for me. And I wanted to see who I would be if I moved abroad. And I wanted to see how happy and fulfilling my life could be. Okay, fly. If I moved abroad. Okay, so I want to end this video here and say, if you like what you heard, please make sure you come back next week. I'm not sure. Yeah, make sure you come back next week for another video where I'll either be talking about moving abroad or Spain or money or just like whatever random things come to me. And this process will probably be a little bit messy at first, and hopefully we'll get a little bit more organized as we go along.